just such a nice, sweet intro. You know, hold on, let me turn that up again. Let me let you hear it again. Hold on. Oh, that is just such a nice, crunchy fucking little groove right there. And it's brought to you by Millennial Frog, the greatest artist that's better than Magdalena Bay. That's right, you heard it here first. Don't shake your head no. Don't shake your fucking head no. Adam disagrees. But anyways, I'm Josh. I'm technically the sidekick. Adam's the main guy. He's the man, the myth, and the legend. Adam. Hey, Adam.
Yeah, so this episode might be relatively short. Just a few things to catch up on before we start getting into more album reviews for the future and possibly eviscerating ourselves when we listen to Paris Hilton's album. And then we have Ginger Root to follow up on after we've been patched up from our post-surgery experience.
After we put our guts back in after fucking ripping them out. There's a scene in this anime called Shiguri Death Frenzy, where the guy fucking he had done that to himself earlier, and he's trying to prove a point to somebody about how horrible like war is or fighting is, and he fucking opens his fucking guts up, and his intestines literally just fall out. That's what's gonna happen, I think, when we listen to Paris Hilton.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, if you want to listen to more of our shit, you can go to GameRageMagazine.com. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Game Rage Magazine, Twitter/X at Game Rage Mag, YouTube, Game Rage Magazine. Additionally, fucking A, you're already here listening. I don't know why you're not following at All Gas No Trash Official. Also, I don't know why if you are following at All Gas No Trash, why not you're also following Game Rage Magazine? God damn it! We're all the same fucking thing. Just follow everything. God damn it! Also, if you like the animes and mangas, you can go listen to the Anime Syndicate podcast. And you can follow our good buddy Frank at anime_syndicate_podcast on Instagram. Please help him. He has low self-esteem, and it really helps if you guys fucking rode that up. You know?
Yeah, that sounds in line with TikTok people and YouTube.
Yeah, you know, they love help. They love making people feel good about themselves.
No, they like baiting people into getting follows and likes. Oh, my shitty art, I can't sell any of it. So, and then they give them a call to action.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. We just did it.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Also, speaking of calls to action, if you like Star Wars, go listen to the Game Rage Star Wars podcast. We're screwing that back up again. So, you know, if you like Star Wars, go listen to it. We're trying to get 15 downloads on the first episode in the first 7 days, which has already basically happened. But we want to see how high we can get the number. So just go listen and just see if you enjoy it.
And if you like Star Wars, we're currently reading and reviewing Darth Vader #1, the 2015 series, which is post A New Hope, episode 4.
Yeah.
And it is an absolute delight.
It is. And
it's unequivocally fucking bussing.
It is the most bussing thing, you know what I'm saying? It does not have Skibbity Ohio Riz.
Yeah.
That's panel to panel if you want to listen to that. But anyways, just go to Game Rage Magazine on YouTube. You can see all the bullshit that we do, and it's wonderful. You'll love it. It's accurate. Anyways, all right, that's the end of the plugs, I think. So,
all right, so just to recap what has happened in the last week is, post us throwing out this TikTok reel of talking about Magdalena Bay's review, or us reviewing Magdalena Bay's Imaginal Disk, which I and Josh shared a similar opinion as far as a score goes. I gave it a 7.5.
I gave it a 7.
Yeah. So somewhere in between that.
I think we split it down the middle. We just say it's a 7.25. Like, you know, that's pretty, I think that's fair.
7.5 so.
All right. Well, I'll stand by 7 then.
Two independent scores.
Yeah. Very close though. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah. A centigrade higher, or a half step higher. And apparently some of you did not receive that well.
The people that didn't receive that well, I will say that video has gotten a lot of views, and that episode has a lot of views. And I mean, listen, we've only heard from maybe like 6 people to say that, we're assholes. Now, I want to clarify something, because a couple people brought up the point, because I made a comment about our headphones. And listen, I was being fucking facetious, all right? These aren't actually like $6 headphones from Amazon. They're fucking Sony. I don't know what the model is, but they're Sony fucking headphones, all right? I did buy them on Amazon, all right? Is it great, and is it easy to find wired fucking headphones that aren't $800? No, it's not. Because guess what? I tried. I looked everywhere. I went on Amazon. I was trying to find them in renewed format. I did find some Sennheiser studio quality, headphones, like studio, like audiophile, whatever you want to call it. And even the renewed versions are like $140. And I'm just like, I don't know how many album reviews we're going to have on the year, but let's say we have like 12 or 15. I don't know if I don't know if we need to spend that kind of money on headphones. Sure, yes, eventually I would like us to have studio quality fucking headphones and shit. But guess what, people? This shit's expensive to do, all right? We don't just have money lying around.
Yeah.
All right? We're providing you free entertainment.
Free.
And we don't ask for a single fucking dime. So I'll tell you what I did do, though. I did ask these guys on YouTube and on the social medias that were making complaints about the quality of the headphones. I did ask them, hey, would you please... Whoops. Oh, I just spilled fucking water all over myself. I asked them, hey, since you guys are bitching about, our choice in headphones, could you please give me like 2 or 3 recommendations for headphones that we should be listening or that we should be using? And I will say this, not a single one of you fucking cowards has replied and given me the goddamn fucking recommendation. So, it stands to reason that if you've got the balls to make a complaint and say that we're assholes for not using $800 studio quality headphones, when I ask you for a recommendation to remedy that and you have no fucking response, that tells me you're just full of shit and you're just an asshole. You just want to complain because you didn't like what our review score was. Because we didn't, listen, I gave that a fair fucking score. I gave that a score that I thought was reasonable. Adam gave it a score that he thought was fair and reasonable. So if you can't give me a reason as to why, and that's what I think happened. I think people that didn't like that are just marks for Magdalena Bay, and they couldn't figure out, and they couldn't articulate a reason why we didn't give this a 10 out of 10. And the fact that they had no thing to pick on other than, oh, it must have just been your shitty headphones. And then to not even come at, when I ask you for a recommendation point blank, and you reply, it's been days, I've heard nothing. No response. I replied to that comment within hours of it being posted, all of those comments about the headphones, and I asked every single one of those assholes, what recommendations do you have? Because give me some, and I will look into them. Because if you want to help me fix the problem that you're complaining about, I will do it, and then we'll go back and re-listen to the fucking album with these new headphones. And I swear to God, if I fucking give it the same score or a less score or a lower score because the headphones, you're gonna pay me for these fucking headphones. But whatever, regardless, you could at least give me a goddamn recommendation. Couldn't even do that. Couldn't even fucking do that, cowards.
Yeah, as far as the review goes, how do I say this without discrediting what we say, because we're not fucking music critics. We don't get paid for this shit. We're just sharing our experience of the album, whether it's good or bad. And we know the finer details of music, all the techniques and technical terms to describe every fucking thing. I don't know all of them, but I take my best shot of what I looked at online in terms of like looking up definitions for words, because I still don't know the difference between an arpeggio and a scale. I think a scale is played in order, and then a fucking arpeggio is you play on a guitar, right? You could start at the lowest end string, like the bassier string, then you can make something like a scale, but with different notes like scattered everywhere, and you can put them together.
Yeah.
And create that cool, because that's what Magdalena Bay does that I think is really cool when they climax their songs. Like they just have these really euphoric sounds like happening in the background. It's like fluttering kind of. I don't know how else to describe it, but in any case, I stand by what I said, because I think there are a lot of songs on the album that I felt personally just felt as the kids say, mid.
Yeah.
It was like the middle portion of the album that I wasn't really all that interested in. And I don't know what the number of songs that I felt that, but there were also songs that were just as many hits. Like Image is a good song. I could tell that was going to be a single. Cry for Me was a great song. It felt like the band creatively had extended themselves to the point I'm like, oh shit, man, this is great. Like this is a band reaching even higher from what you would typically know about them, like dabbling in different genres. I mean, there's times they sound like Daft Punk or Justice or even ABBA. Like, I saw on the fucking thing, because we're gonna read like the annotations for each song, but for Cry for Me, somebody actually wrote like ABBA. Like it's something that was referenced. I don't know if like they got interviewed, but they were like, oh yeah, ABBA was one thing that was
inspiration for them
for that particular song or whatever. But I still stand by what I said. Whether that rubs people, I can't do anything about that. I can't do anything about getting rubbed the wrong way. That's just the way I feel about the music. And I don't know, man. I just personally don't think it's like the perfect album. I think they did a lot of things creatively that I was like surprised by, but some of the songs just fell flat.
Yeah, and I will say this, all right, because I was curious to see what other people are giving it. So I went out and looked at a bunch of other reviews and stuff. And yes, you can tell that there are some ball-washing interviews that are just trying to get in good with them and giving 10 out of 10, but saying a lot of words, but not actually saying anything.
Oh my God, that shit is so fucking annoying when they're like, genre blending, they resurrected Jesus Christ, like through the music, like it's so.
It has nothing to do with the fucking song. And I will also say this: we listened to it on the episode live for the first time, right? So this was our first initial gut reactions. You got actual, real fucking reactions from us. You didn't get us, because a lot of these people. I'll say this: we were very quick on the draw on doing this review and putting it out, and I do think that a lot of these other reviews came out like a week later, like several days, many days after ours. So these guys sat there and maybe they listened to it 4, 5, 6, 7 times and were able to, hear things maybe that we didn't hear on the first go around, right? But that's not what this album reviews are for. Our album reviews are to give you our initial first reaction upon first listen. This is what we think. And again, I think our opinions are definitely valid. They're not. They're not. You may disagree with them, but they're not an invalid opinion, and it's real. There's no ball washing. Nobody told us to review fucking Magdalena Bay Imaginal Disk. The only person that told us what to do was Adam. Adam said, "Oh, hey, we're gonna review this." Oh, sweet. No one told him what the fuck to do. Mm-hmm. No one said, "Hey, man, here's a 40, here's a 50, here's a 2,000. Let me get you this review right quick."
Or it's quid pro quo in general, and they're like, "Oh, we'll get you tickets for this, or we'll do this or that, or we'll feed you more artists, and you get to review. You get to be the first people that review them."
Yep.
We don't get any of that shit.
Nope.
And that's fucking fine because that keeps our opinion largely impartial.
Yeah, it's very impartial. I would say it's the most impartial, and it's the most impartial because we're telling you up front, we ain't getting none of that shit, and honestly, we're not going to accept any of that shit. And if we do accept that shit, it'll be said at the beginning, and it will say, hey, we clearly told them that this review is going to be based on our opinions, and that's it. None of this other shit you've maybe done for us or whatever, which again, no one's done anything for us, but I know that there's a lot of people that do reviews that they get shit and whatever, and I'm not calling out, naming names, doing any of that shit, but with us, you get what you get. This is real, right? We're not horse shitting around and trying to trick everybody, pull the wool over people's eyes.
Yeah.
It's a real opinion. So if people don't like that, cool, you don't like it.
And furthermore, regarding the album, just scattered brained, whatever fucking just ends up happening anyways. What are you gonna do?
Well, it's because we don't script these because we're not fucking assholes.
Man, there was, so in the album, I could tell they were kind of going, I don't know, I guess what you would call like progressive rock. Because there was like a lot of, they've had synthesizers in their music like pretty much since the beginning, I think. And there was like synthesizer solos that went on for, I think, a minute or an extended period of time. I'm like, I don't know if this is necessary.
And it would be at the end to like extend the song too. And it's, all right, guys, like we get it.
Like, yeah, it's almost somewhat I think you could call it somewhat obnoxious because it's like, we know you're talented. We know you can do this. Can you do it in 15 seconds?
Right.
But I also get it in the sense that an artist wants to do what they want to do, and us responding to it is like, well, we still did it anyway because this is our art. We did it for us. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but like in terms of being like a consumer, like this shit went on a little bit too long or something. Like, and that's part of like the criticism. That's part of the deal of like us talking about the music is we're gonna point out things that we don't like. Although I will say, largely, by and large, as far as like the lyrics and the concept of this whole imaginal disc thing, like the story of it is very cool to talk about different versions of yourself through like this disc. And then I guess there's like this overarching story of romance and shit, and like how it looks like it's a kind of like a, I don't know if it's a breakup album, but this person is ascending to a higher plane of existence or a higher idealized version of themselves, and they're leaving behind somebody because this relationship has now become a burden, and in order to get to the higher version of themselves, they kind of have to leave this person and the past behind, and it's also like cool how they did certain things, which I talked about on the episode about like resetting yourself, that you can change who you are even after a relationship. You don't have to keep making the same mistakes or doing the same things. You can reset yourself or whatever. To be talked about, to talk about that in the figure of like a computer or like hardware of a computer, things like that. I think it's cool.
It is cool. And one of the things someone pointed out was that we should have listened to the album backwards. And I'm like, okay, but like how the fuck were we supposed to know that?
I do think there's okay, because that was talked about within the music itself about two-way mirror. So you could talk about the disc being one side of the story and the other side being because there's, I don't know if you noticed, but the first song talked about these two kids that were in a warring state, and the other one was some other perspective, right? Yeah. So we worked our way backwards, or rather we worked our way through the album, and then if you play it backwards, it might have a different context. Like, so I don't know. There's just like a lot of shit that they did creatively in terms of like the lyrics and saying things like that. I'm like, dude, who else is thinking of this shit? This is why I'm giving it bonus points. This is why I think it's cool. Yeah. So I guess we could work our way through the annotations that people have written on Genius just to get a better idea. We're gonna go song by song, and I'll go ahead and read the excerpts that have been written about the songs from the start of it. And I will preface in saying that the song bio has been unreviewed, so it's not been validated by other people to say that this has in fact been the case. But this is what somebody has been extracted or extrapolated from, I don't know what source. So the first song that we have is She Looked Like Me, and written in the annotation, track 1 off of Magdalena Bay's sophomore studio album, She Looked Like Me introduces listeners to the concept of idealized self, which is explored throughout the album. So I mean, we kind of got that idea. At first, the protagonist interprets her ideal self through the context of her family history and her country's expectations of success. So I'm guessing, I mean, has Argentina been in like a warring state? I don't fucking know.
I mean, I'm sure they've had some sort of, not revolution, but like
strife.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know if it's a third world country or maybe a second world country.
I don't know. Anyways, the protagonist is introduced to her doppelganger. Oh, doppelganger, okay. Who seems to embody all of these qualities of success she herself is lacking, referring to possibly Mika, who's the vocalist, but she's telling the story as if it's, a separate person. Throughout Imaginal Disk, the protagonist tries to unify with the ideal self in the True Blue therapeutic process. True Blue being in quotes, so I guess like the honest version of herself and her idealized version, like uniting, I suppose. Yeah. So then we move on to the second track, which is Killing Time. And what is written is track 2 off of Magdalena Bay's sophomore album. Killing Time sees Mika taking a dodge from the old idiom, counting sheep to pass time, unable to sleep as she feels as if she has spent all her years dreaming. The protagonist is waiting for her ideal life to begin, the one she was destined for as determined by the expectations of her family and country. This was not what I was expecting. I mean, we kind of got that idea, but I thought it was about romance.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay.
Who's writing this shit? Is it just some assholes? Or is it from them? Because honestly, if it's just some assholes making shit up and it's their interpretation, how do we know that's like the correct interpretation?
Well, it's a genius annotation. So
yeah, but what does that mean?
I don't know if it's like official, but I mean, they're talking about it as if they had like interviewed them and saying that they went through the album and they talked about each of the tracks.
All right, so we're just assuming this is the official.
Yeah, we're assuming this is the official
interpretation or whatever.
But there are people that like take a specific lyric and then contribute their own analysis, which is like their own shit. But this is like this is a proper like its own fucking thing. So I'm under the impression that these are two independent things.
Okay.
So we just did Killing Time. Now we True Blue Interlude. So I'm guessing this is referencing to the Doppelganger or whatever, the true version. Let's see. Oh shit. Okay. Track 3 off of Magdalena Bay's sophomore studio album, True Blue Interlude, introduces the idea of True Blue therapeutic process, a procedure of unknown origins that is supposed to rewire the protagonist's entire self so that she may realize her true potential. The song is reminiscent of self-help inspirational tapes popularized in the late 20th century, depicted in the album cover art and music videos. This therapy is performed by inserting a disc directly to the forehead. So then we move on to Image, which is one of the singles that was released and teased originally on the 3rd of July. Track off of Magdalena Bay's sophomore studio album, Image, will be featuring itself on the upcoming album. Oh shit. In the context of Imaginal Disk, the protagonist has begun the True Blue therapeutic process, which promises to rewire her brain so that she can finally be her ideal self. Image illustrates the ideal self that the protagonist will embody upon completion of the therapeutic process. The self is identified by society at large through the character of the doctor. I'm guessing I had to watch the music video to get a better idea of that. Let's see. Track 5, Death and Romance. The first single off the upcoming album serves as the 5th track of the album, in which the duo once again retrace their synth roots, and that's it? Okay. Not really much said there. Let's see, track 6, Fear, Sex. Track 6 off of Magdalena Bay's sophomore studio album, Fear and Sex. It is Mika's fear that she has been left in the war of that her doppelganger left behind, with the alternative fearing too that the original will die alone. Oh, so we're talking about like the different versions of herself. Vampire in the Corner sees Mika being avoidant due to the fear of having her heart broken, obsessing also over marking it with fear. Okay. Let's see. Watching TV.
Watching TV.
Magdalena Bay's.
So are they getting this from like the music videos too, or?
I guess. Watching TV takes a dodge from 2000-based fear that television rots your brain and ultimately releases your darkest emotions through so-called monsters. All right. Track 9.
Track 9.
Sonically, the track is glistening synth pop. Okay, that didn't add anything. All right.
Genius.
Track 10, Love is Everywhere, quite literally takes from the title, Love is in fact everywhere, breaking away from the avoidance of the vampire in track 7, which we kind of already knew that. Track 11, shit, this album had a lot of fucking songs. Feeling Disconcerted is an interlude with Mika acknowledges the power of the internet, going so far as to call it an angel. Okay, so the angel was
the internet,
the
like,
internet
for information or something like that?
because people can connect through the internet and get to know each other better, and so she considers it an angel. The term disconcerted is also a double entendre, I kind of figured, meaning both disconcerted and disconcerted, the word disconcerted, getting at the sci-fi and fantastical nature of the album itself. I thought that was fucking cool.
Yeah.
That's definitely something where I gave him bonus points for. That's my floor. The single, the one we probably think is the best track. Okay, I'm not even gonna read this. I just want to quickly say that I think this song has also a double entendre, because that's my floor, implying that she's going to the next version of herself, right? Like, which is at some higher level. And that's my floor, meaning I won't accept anything less for myself.
Yeah.
So let's see what they actually say about the fucking song. They say absolutely nothing.
Wow, thanks a lot, genius, you fucking idiots.
Cry for Me. Okay, let's see what Cry for Me says. When asked in a Vulture interview about Cry for Me, singer Mika Tenenbaum remarks that it is one of those songs written from the perspective of the character who's a villain. Oh, she is a villain.
Yeah, okay.
So she fucks off from the guy. And is on her journey of wanting absolution, an expression that aligns with the song's rather forlorn reflections on absolution and forgiveness. Matthew Lewin notes that a portion of the song is inspired from multiple places such as Genesis. Fuck, that's the one, not Justice. Fucking idiot. And ABBA's Dancing Queen. So those are like the musical inspirations for the track. Why did I say Justice?
I don't know.
Anyways, Angel on a Satellite. So I don't know if that's referring to the internet on a satellite. I'm sure it is, because that's what was mentioned about
Talking about Starlink.
Avoiding the power of the angel, she falls into submission from its power. I don't know what it says about that. I don't know. It's a rather short annotation. And then the last track, Mika, the Ballad of Matt and Mika, serves as the album's closer. Unlike the distinctive loop found on their debut album, Mercurial World, this ends more as an open-ended question while still creating an end to the story. Interpolating the first track, however, much more dissonant in terms of production to the first. Oh, somebody just wrote that. So that is, like, in summary, the annotations people, or rather what has been written about the annotations for the album itself. I guess the only thing that I was really confused about while we were listening to the album is if this was more like story driven about a romance, and it seems more it's about this character's like own journey about their own personal identity, with a romance thrown in.
Right.
And then, so now that we kind of gotten that wrapped up as far as like any loose ends for the album review, one thing that we had mentioned was talking about this company called Liberty Media, which was, well, they seem to own a lot of shit. And I did look up a few things because I was curious if this person was telling the truth, which you can listen on to the last episode as far as what, like, this comment that had been written on Reddit. But Liberty Media owns Live Nation, Ticketmaster, SiriusXM, and at one point they ended up owning a portion of iHeartRadio. So conceivably, they controlled like every portion of like how one would develop an artist. Yeah. Like they owned terrestrial radio, a portion of terrestrial. They used to, because I looked it up. I was curious, and they used to own a portion of iHeartRadio, but in 2021 they sold everything. So they used to have the terrestrial radio leg within their, holdings, I suppose. Yeah. But the fact that they own like Live Nation and Ticketmaster means they own like numerous venues, and they have promotion across like the state in general. SiriusXM, I mean, I don't know how much it contributes to developing artists, but I imagine it does, because I mean, there are channels, or rather radio stations within XM radio that are dedicated to like certain genres and shit. So I don't know, like, what do you have to say about that? Like, that kind of seems like these guys kind of own the entire process of potentially, every leg that an artist goes through in their own like journey as develop. So like they control the fucking game. That's like what you can surmise.
Yeah, I mean they're the single largest shareholder in Live Nation. Basically, they own 35%, which is a lot. And I mean, if you look at the list of owners of Liberty or Live Nation, it's like BlackRock and there's like a bunch of rich assholes that basically own fucking Live Nation. And a Live Nation basically owns, like you said, every aspect of an artist's career. They own
small clubs,
they own the mid-sized places, they own the fucking arenas, they own not only that, but they own the distribution of music, they own the management of artists, they own the merchandise, they own ticketing, they own all of it. And they that's the thing. If you piss off Live Nation, you're just gonna be fucking assed out, because COVID fucked all that up, as we did that whole episode talking about that, where they went around and bought up all the fucking smaller venues. And
not technically, but I mean, like 49%.
Yeah, or they buy
something.
51% of it and say, okay, cool, just don't tell anybody. And then, it's like, hey, if you're a Live Nation artist, you get to
do everything,
do whatever you want. We're going to open the door for you.
And just to note, Liberty Media is owned, like the largest majority stake, and I think it actually is owned by one person. It's this John C. Malone guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy fuck, how does one person own so much shit? In addition to that, which was mentioned on the previous episode, he owns like fucking Formula One racing, a bunch of shit, dude. Like at one point.
Yeah, MotoGP, Formula One, they own a lot of shit. I mean, they literally, like you said, Sirius XM satellite radio, they own 83% of that shit. They have a lot of stake in a lot of things. They also used to own the Atlanta Braves too.
Yeah, and numerous like television channels and different media. I mean, man, when you're talking about, I guess what you could say is like a conglomerate to own all this shit, man, if you were just within the an arm's reach as an artist, like surrounding all this shit, like if you could just get within Live Nation, you're pretty much fucking made, which is probably like why I could extrapolate why the Marias ended up going with whatever that big management, because if they're owned by Live Nation, they're fucking made, dude. Like they're going to be playing all the venues that they could fill out potentially. I don't know. I don't think they're an arena act, but the larger theaters, like that's all within their
and you're
reach.
Also going to get the promotion that goes behind that, the advertising that goes to support that, because that's really all it is. It's the machine. Once the machine gets behind you, you're fucking straight.
And then the Ticketmaster shit is just bullshit, because, dude, just from my own personal experience, like the tickets that I bought for concerts, the fees that are tacked on to the tickets themselves, dude, they're twice as much as the fucking ticket. Like, it's fucking whack. So it's like they have a monopoly on ticketing services. So like that shit needs to be broken up so that we get to buy shit, at reasonable prices, and not these bots and things that allow you to purchase the ticket at a resale value that you couldn't even afford. Yeah, it's fucking horrendous. So, anyways, this shit sucks. Yep. It's a pain in the ass to independent venues and artists that the game is basically rigged.
Yes,
and it's so much harder to get into the music industry, and now it's even harder knowing that companies like Live Nation and Ticketmaster and SiriusXM are owned by one person. So it's like, all right, well, are we going to let this unknown artist play at a Live Nation venue, or are we going to have one of our hundreds and hundreds of artists, perhaps even thousands, over this dickhead? Nah, let's go with... I'd rather just keep the money within our own little circle or circuit. So
yeah, that's what they do.
Just the nature of the beast anyway. Anyways, to summarize this episode, or rather to conclude the episode, we will be having more album reviews on the way, which is Paris Hilton's album. I don't know why we're listening to that.
Mainly it started out as a joke, but then we were like, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, so It's not going to be a serious one. We're just going to kind of have fun with it. And
Or man, so maybe there will be a plot twist and it actually is fucking amazing. Who knows?
yeah, who the fuck knows? But maybe one of us is going to tap out and maybe there will be a consequence.
Oh,
We
yeah.
haven't decided on that.
Yeah.
But following that, Ginger Root comes out with his album, which I think is going to be fucking awesome. And that'll be the following week, September 13th. And it's going to be a good time. So that'll end the episode.
All right. If you want to listen to our other shit, you can go to GameRageMagazine.com. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Game Rage Magazine, Twitter/X at Game Rage Mag, YouTube, Game Rage Magazine. You can follow Adam at All Gas No Trash Official on Instagram. If you want to listen to some anime, go listen to Anime Syndicate and follow Frank at anime_syndicate_podcast. And maybe go check out Panel to Panel, or maybe go check out Game Rage Star Wars, or maybe go check out one of the many other fucking 75 different podcasts we have for you to listen to. So,
Dude,
all right.
he's getting okay.
That's
End
it.
the episode.
That's it. We'll catch you on the next one.